Hey everybody, welcome back to the nesting comps tutorials in After Effects CS6. I'm your host, Buddy Blackford, and we're going to keep on going on about pre-comps and show you a little bit more about what's going on besides just an intro. Now, if you watched the previous tutorial about the introduction to nesting comps, you'll see that I took 4 of my layers which were in my logo and moved them around and put them into a pre-comp. Now, what we're going to do now is show you a little bit how you can move the pre-comp around and everything like that. Now, you may have noticed that when you have a pre-comp, it will keep the transparency that has been made in the composition in your pre-comp, and it'll show up in your composition here. So if I go and add another different kind of background, you can see that the transparency is kept. The canvas of the pre-comp is going to be the same as how big your pre-comp actually was created. So if I wanted to change the composition settings here, I could change the size of the pre-comp, and let's change it down a little bit. Let's see what happens. So there we go. You can see that the canvas is actually getting smaller while the actual objects in the pre-comp are not. So I have made it a little bit smaller in resolution, and now the actual canvas size for the pre-comp is smaller and not the whole entire size. Now you can see that I would be able to animate the position of the pre-comp here with everything as if they were all parented together. So I could just keyframe here, actually click on the stopwatch, and then just move down here, and you can animate the position of your pre-comps. So if you don't feel like parenting everything and having like a big mess, then that's a good reason for a pre-comp. And like I just said, pre-comps help help reduce the amount of clutter that are in your scene here. Now, one thing with pre-comps is that sometimes when you pre-compose something and bring it in, the collapse transformation tool will be turned off. Now you may need to turn that on sometimes to keep the different like rasterizations and vector properties of whatever is within your pre-comp. So you may want to turn that on sometimes. And in our case here, it is the same because the scale is the same. So if I zoom in here for you guys, we're at 100%, so everything should be the way we want it to look. And I take off the collapse transformation tool and go to scale this up. We can see that the edges of the words are blurry, the edges of our logos are blurry. So we want to make sure that we check the collapse transformation tool, and then everything will be in its position that we want, and everything will be crisp around the edges, just like our vectors and shape layers should be. Sometimes when you create a pre-comp, everything that you have animated within may not be in the right spot that you want it to be in. So you want to also make sure that you have this checked on, and that will bring everything into the right areas that it needs to be. Now I'm just going to bring this back to its original scale so we don't need to mess with it. I wanted to point you up here to the top of the composition panel where we can switch between the different compositions and pre-comps here. If I click on logo, it's going to bring me quickly to the logo composition. If I go to text, it's going to quickly bring me to the text. And then we have these drop down arrows to see how our text and logo are combined. So we got our text here, which is the main comp, and the logo with the arrow showing here that it's going into the text comp. We've got our different ways of setting this up here in our sort modes. So if you don't like going from right to left and want it to go left to right, there we go. And I mean, To me that seems a little easier. Most people read from left to right, so I usually switch that over. You can also switch between your comps down here, but if you don't have this one open, you can easily go to open it up here. So we'll switch to our logo up here by clicking on logo, and it'll bring it up quickly instead of having to search through your project menu to go and find it. Which reminds me, I should put these in the comps folder so I don't get myself all confused. So I mean, if you don't want to be switching between your effects and your project panel as much, just use these up here to switch back and forth. Just a little handy thing to save you some time. Another thing that I wanted to let you guys know about nesting comps is you want to keep some of the attributes the same. And the attributes I mean by in the composition settings. So if we go to composition settings, and we're in the wrong one here, let's go into our logo and then go into composition settings. We want to make sure that the settings here are the same frame rate as and pixel aspect ratio as the settings in the text. So 24 in square pixels are what we want there, and our resolution at full, let's see if they're the same in our text. Square pixels 24 and resolution at full. If you don't, you're going to have some errors when you're rendering, and things are going to be choppy and they may not look the same, and something will be off, and you'll know, because I mean it's happened to me a few times trying to throw something into another composition that doesn't have the same frame rate. It looks weird. So those are pretty much just a bunch of tips for you to remember when you're using nested comps. And I'll stop this part of the tutorial here. We'll get on to some more tips in the next tutorial. So thanks for watching this one, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial where, like I just said, we're going to be doing some nested comps. And watch out for those stupid wasps. So see you guys later, and stay safe.